All right. Thank you so much for opening this video. And we are going to do a deep dive into the startup growth infrastructure. So if you read the document or if you managed to visit the landing page that I sent, this startup growth infrastructure is a story that started 10 years ago when I was consulting businesses. So the issue was that however much I tried to help these businesses, but I kept noticing loopholes. I kept, despite how we used to help businesses and try and make them sustainable, help them avoid pitfalls and some mistakes. But despite that, I kept feeling like we are missing something. And then I started thinking if there is a systematic way to build cars that are actually functional, why don't we have systematic ways of building businesses? So this startup growth infrastructure is a tool. It's not a course. It's a tool that helps businesses, that helps entrepreneurs build businesses that are predictably successful. Just like if you go in Toyota or if you go in BMW, the company, they can give you a blueprint on how to build a car. And if they give you the necessary resources, you can actually build that car. It's the same way that this startup growth infrastructure is going. First of all, it's going to help the entrepreneur from making unnecessary mistakes. Because the reason why businesses fail is because they violate rules, they violate principles that they don't know, because the principle doesn't care. If you jump off of a building, gravity doesn't care. It's going to pull you down and you fail. So these principles that are in the startup growth infrastructure are the laws that govern businesses. So we are going to go through it, and then you get to understand and see how the picture of this implemented in someone's businesses or people's businesses. Now, let me share my screen. Right. So this is how the entire infrastructure looks like. So the idea is when we think of an entrepreneur does not work in the business, at least not all the time. So entrepreneurs work on the business. So they are string pullers that pull strings so that things happen. So if an entrepreneur does not perceive a business in that essence, then they're going to have a very hard time, because you cannot, the reason why most entrepreneurs are burnt out, it's because when they are perceiving a business, they don't perceive it as a complex structure that you only have to pull a few levers so that it functions. We move cars of, 800 kg with just pushing a tiny gas pedal, and then a car moves. So you don't need a lot of force to move a lot of a big mass. All you need is proper levers. So this infrastructure is going to hand the levers to the entrepreneur so that they can have leverage. If you don't have leverage in business, then it's going to be very hard, because businesses are naturally complex, and to manage a complex system, you need a level of sophistication and competence so that you can actually know which buttons to press. And the beauty of this is that this is not a set in stone formula. No, it's a template. So every business is supposed to have something like this, so that when investors knock on your door, so that when you have new managers on your team, so that even the entrepreneurs themselves, they can see the business and then map it out in such a way that they can understand, okay, this is what is missing, and this is how we fix it. Now, businesses have five main parts. So there's value creation, there's marketing, there is sales, there's value delivery, and there is finance. So those are the core of any business. Now, in value creation, most of the time when we are creating value, let's say someone is starting or someone has already started. Now, so at the center of value, there is three main things that entrepreneurs need to consider. When we are building this infrastructure, we sit and say, are you addressing a need, a want, or are you encouraging one of the two? Now, how do you assess a need. There are 5 drives of human needs. Which of these 5 drive of human needs are you currently addressing? Because if you are addressing a need, but you're not addressing any of these 5 drives of human need, then you're violating a law. And so when we are building an infrastructure for a business, we say, okay, we are addressing a need, and this is the exact need that we are addressing. So we kind of customize it and curve it around the business. It's a bespoke infrastructure. This is a bespoke service. It's not something that we are going to commoditize. No, it's something that is highly exclusive for businesses that high impact businesses. It's not something for early stage startup, except if it's a startup that is being started by a group of professionals who understand the industry. The reason why it's because there is an inherent complexity that comes with it, and there is a level of expertise, there is a level of involvement you should have in your industry to actually build a proper business, a profitable business. One of the rules that most people violate when they are building a business is 2 main rules, actually. There's what we call a mercenary rule and the crusader rule. Mercenary rules say if you build a business for the sake of just making money, you are going to fail, because there's a point in business where if you don't love what you do, if you're not chasing something, if you're not pursuing something bigger than money, you're going to fail. So when we are building this value, when you are creating these types of value, we ask the entrepreneur, why are you starting the business? If they thought it was about the money only, we need to find something beyond the money to prevent them from failing. Now, another rule is the crusader rule. So the crusader rule say, so you have to evaluate new business ideas before you proceed. So you have to crusade the idea. This is where we implement rules like the wait list, discussion groups, so that you don't assume that something is needed. And then another way to be part of the wait list and the discussion groups. There are also other 10 ways to evaluate if you are working on an idea that is worth it. Are you addressing a market size, urgency, pricing potential? What is the pricing potential of this product? What is the cost of value delivery, uniqueness of offer, upsell, upfront investment? So if the score is below 50, is 50 or below, move on to the other idea. If the score is 75 or above, you have a promising idea, full speed ahead. So it's a way to systematically evaluate the value that you're creating. And then on top of that, we also go through the 12 forms of value. Okay, for this specific business, what are the different forms of value do we bring in? Let's say they have been selling product for many years, but can we introduce another service? Can we bring in a shared resource? Can we put subscription? Can we bring an agency? Can we have a product that is close to having a loan? Something, different things. So we need to find a way to come up with different forms of value for a business so that the business can keep innovating and growing. Now, before I move to the next one, when you're designing, when you're prototyping, there's something called bundling and unbundling. This is a way you combine different pieces of value. Let's say you combine a product and a service, a subscription and a loan, an agency and a product. So these are the things, I call it DJing forms of value. So we have to find a way in every unique ways for each and every business to come up with modularities of combining different forms of value so that the business keeps growing. So this is how we implement this in the business. And there are so many laws. And the great thing about this infrastructure that I've built is that it's a live and breathing thing. So let's say some of the things that are here were not there yesterday. So as I keep learning, as I keep reading, as I keep talking to people, I come back to the infrastructure and then add more things. So by the time you watch this video, I would have added other more things because it's a living and breathing thing. So every new law that I discover, I add them there. And then when we are going to consult a business, when you are going to build an infrastructure for a specific business, what we do, we say, okay, what are amongst the 12 forms of value, which one are we going to use? How do we prototype this? How do we do feedback? So that you can go back and say, and show your employees, new employees, this is how we do things, so that you prevent experimentation and then you avoid unnecessary errors. The next one is marketing. So in marketing, so the rule of marketing is very, very, very simple. So in marketing, you have receptivity, attention, and remarkability. As I was saying, so you have to make sure that, how do we ensure that, how do we capture, how do we make sure that people are receptive to what we do? How do we maintain attention? How do we stay remarkable in our business? What are the processes we use to be remarkable? Leveraging these rules, the level of awareness, end result, point of market entry, addressability, giving something for free. So if you don't, so every business has to come up with, let's say, levels of awareness. Okay, for a specific company, our customers unaware, problem aware, solution aware, offer aware, fully aware. How do we, where are our customers in this context? And then you pin it, and then you go and design strategies and systems around it. So it's something that helps the entrepreneur to wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I see that things are not picking pace in marketing. How do we, what is happening? And then they come on the infrastructure and they say, oh, maybe we are not getting enough attention. What is happening? Okay, so there is the rule of preoccupation. People are preoccupied. How are we breaking preoccupation? So there are 5 ways to break preoccupation: scary, sexy, strange, value, and familiar. How do you do it? Because every business has to leverage a unique way to break preoccupation that works with the target market. We have to determine that. And then there is sales. So in sales, we are talking about 3 things also. So transaction, trust, and common ground. How do we ensure that when, let's say something like, pricing uncertainty, the pricing methods, what are the methods that works for our specific business? Is it market comparison? Is it value comparison? Something like price transition shock. How do we, based on our customer, the type of customers that we are serving, how do we transition from one price, maybe increase price, decrease price, without shocking our customer base? How do we do that? And then the last but not least is, how do we overcome barriers to purchase? What if we present something and then people say it costs too much? How do we overcome that? It won't work. How do we overcome that? It can't, it can wait. It's too difficult. Every business have to come up with ways to deal with this, especially your sales team. Because if your sales team they don't know how to overcome objection in the unique way of a business, then there's a problem. They're not going to sell, they're not going to make you money. So that's why it has to be uniquely executed and implemented. Then there is value delivery. How do we deliver value? The basis of value delivery is value stream, distribution channels, expectation, predictability, and delivering value. How do we ensure that our distribution channels can be duplicated? Because if it can't be duplicated, it can be multiplied. If it can be multiplied, it can be scaled. If it can't scale, it can be amplified. So which means that if you're implementing a business here in Rwanda, and then the distribution channel is not duplicatable, then you're not going to be able to scale outside of Rwanda or beyond. Another one is finance. So finance is very critical because most people, so in finance, you're dealing with profit, expenses, and then profit margin. And most people are like asking themselves, how do we increase the revenue without, what are the methods of increasing the revenue? Maybe one company is going to say, we are going to increase the number of customers. Others are going to say raising prices. Others are going to say size of transaction, but what works for your business? Which one? And then so you have to determine which one works for you. And then you're talking about in finance, we have to build systems for you so that every single dollar that enters your business is properly tracked and properly recorded so that you don't miss anything, so that there are not any financial mismanagement or any form of irresponsibility financially. So this is what, so you're dealing with, as I was saying, profit margin and value capture. So we have to make sure that, for instance, something like value capture, most people do make this mistake when they're building these ventures of saying, you know what, we want to capture. So it's like they want to earn more profit instead of having like a balance and then have more customers. So this is something that we also have to properly analyze in the context of someone's business. And then something that we do that has never been done before in any, at least in any consultancy that I've been part of or incubator or program, is to work on the entrepreneur. So we train, we build the plane, but we also train the pilots. How do you communicate? Mindset. What are the limiting beliefs that someone has? We have different backgrounds, and most of the time, those backgrounds actually affects us. So how do you manage people? What are the psychology of human nature? Productivity, mindset, empathy. How do you communicate? How do you pitch? There's a law called capstone. How do we leverage the capstone framework so that we pitch and produce incredible pitches? Communication as a founder. So this is something we do to work on the founder. And then there comes the map of the human mind. You know, people are always dealing with different things, and there are systems that we implement in the founder's life in such a way that they know how to track themselves. There are 5 performance requirements. You need food, you need sleep, you need to move, you need the sun, you need to learn. There are 4 energy cycles: patterns, max out, peaks, break, and sleep. If you don't know these energy cycles and they peak at different times during the day, and it's different from different people. Maybe my energy peaks up at I don't know, 12 p.m., something like that. So how do I arrange my calendar in such a way that at the peak of my energy, I'm doing the more creative works, and then at the lowest, when it's break, I can do less creative work. And then there is people management. How do you manage people? Because at the center of management of people, there is power, and then power flows into influence. How do you properly influence people? How do you motivate people in your own way? Because your people are different. You have to discover what are the things at the core, leveraging these principles that I can apply in my business so that my people are motivated. Are you violating any? Let's say you see that in your company, people are very demotivated. Have you checked that if you're not violating any of these 6 management principles, like recruiting small groups, communicate clearly, are you respecting people? Are you creating a productive environment? Do you have an aggressive plan? Are you measuring what you do? So these are the things that people ignore, and then it comes back and then it affects their businesses. And then, but last but not least, we also hand over to the founder how to understand systems. We teach you how to understand systems. How do you break it down? Like if something happens to this infrastructure or you need to improve it, how do you analyze it? How do you improve it? How do you optimize it? Because systems are living beings. This is also something that people need. Well, the reason why people resist systems is because they are like, oh, you guys are going to turn us into a robot. No. We're just we are making you a functional organization, because any organization that has ever scaled has systems. It has systems in way. If entrepreneurs are not systems thinker, we are in trouble. But the biggest reasons why actually most entrepreneurs fail, well, it's because people think that there are no formulas to build a successful business, which is absolutely wild and mind-blowing. But people are also not systems thinker. People don't think in terms of systems, because if we can have more systems thinkers, then we can easily and absolutely have scalable and predictably successful businesses. So this is what we are going to implement in the business in businesses. And I hope this breakdown has provided an overall context. If you have any question, don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll be happy to support and help. Thank you so much.